So before beginning in, let me introduce you to ICS. So ICS is a psychology organization and it works in two departments. First is counseling department and the other one is training department, where we have courses for the people who are from psychology as well as non-psychology background. And all the trainer here are ICS certified and they have 10 or 15 year plus experience in their respective field. And all the certifications that we provide, they are internationally accepted and valid. Now, again, I can see only one person turning the camera on. I'm still requesting all of you to please turn on your camera so that now we can start with the webinar. It's okay if you have any personal reason you cannot turn on your camera, but we request the other people to please turn on your camera so that we can, make this webinar as engaging as possible. So how to get the certificate? We are going to share the procedure at the end of the webinar. So stay till the end so that you don't miss how to get the certification procedure part. Now introducing you to your trainer. Her name is Mansi, and she's a psychotherapist with 4 years of work experience. She have worked with various diverse range of clients, and she's a certified clinical hypnotherapist. And today she is going to take the webinar on parapsychology.
Thanks, Kanika. Hi, everybody. As Kanika has shared that my work experience, so I'm looking forward to hearing some of you. Where are you coming from? What's your background? And what made you maybe interested in this webinar? Anybody can go first.
Hello, ma'am. My name is Anushka. I belong from Mahu and I'm pursuing Masters in Psychology.
How nice.
Hello,
Anybody?
I am Aarti and I am a soft skills trainer.
Oh,
I'm from
that's nice. So what made you interested in this webinar particularly?
just to know more about the psychology and psychology of people and I just want to know what how a person behave, what actually means the total mind trap, you can say.
Mm-mm. Right. Anybody else who wants to share about themselves? Where are you from? What made you interested in this webinar?
Hello, good evening, ma'am.
Good
My
evening.
name is Hotoli, and I'm working in school.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw this program, I'm very interested to know about the paranormal, issues and all. Actually, I'm a counselor,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm very interested in it, ma'am.
That's really nice to know. I'm happy that you're here. So few things before we start is that uh, nobody needs to call me ma'am. I'm okay with being called by my first name, and that's how I'll be addressing all of you also. I know some of you might be older or younger than me, come from different experiences. So that's just I'm telling. Also, I will be speaking in Hindi and English. So if anybody is not comfortable in either of the language, they can let me know. And it's okay to pause me anytime to ask questions, make comments. It's okay to tell me if I'm going too fast, too slow. So you don't need to wait till the end of the session to give a feedback or make a request. Other than that, I'm hoping for your participation in general. So more engaging it will be, more fun and enriching experience it might be for all of us. All right. So what associations come to your mind about parapsychology? So when I'm saying the word parapsychology, what is coming to your mind? What do you know about it? What are you curious about? Anything that's coming up? I'm not looking for an exact definition or a right answer. I just want to know what's coming up for you.
Ma'am, the psychology which deals with
Mm-hmm. Deals with what?
uh, ma'am, the people who are impaired and to understand their mental level.
What do you mean by impaired?
Ma'am, Paralympic is there, so I guessed by that.
No, I'm afraid it's not that. It's not related to a disability. Anybody else? But it is an interesting association to make, Paralympics, parapsychology, but both of them are different phenomena.
मैम
Hmm?
एक्चुअली मतलब मैंने इसके बारे में थोड़ा सा पढ़ा था कि लाइक पैरासाइकोलॉजी इज अबव आवर 5 सेंसेस सो इसमें रीबर्थ और टेलीपैथी वगैरह है तो मतलब इसके लिए मैं इंटरेस्टेड हूँ कि मतलब हाउ इट इज पॉसिबल
Right. So you're right, but it is beyond 5 senses. So something that our 5 senses cannot explain. Whatever is within our 5 senses is just perception, no? So if you can see with your eyes, that's vision. If you can hear with your ears, it's auditory, like hearing. So whatever we experience with our 5 senses comes within the scope of normal perception, right? Here we are saying para. Para means beyond. So beyond our ordinary perception, whatever experiences are, as you're saying, telepathy,
yes
that is what is the scope of parapsychology. Anyone else? Again, I'm not looking for a right answer. I'm not looking for definition. I'm looking for what's coming up in your mind.
Near-death experience.
Hmm?
Near-death experience.
Sorry, I'm not able to understand. What experience?
Like if if he feels that he's dead and he's seeing something, or he's going to the hell or heaven and all these things. That sort of feelings. That
Yeah, kind of. So
Ma'am,
beyond our ordinary experience. Yes.
These things are coming into my mind, like poses. Yeah, some people believe in evil poses, and also, yeah, related to those some paranormal experiences, which sometimes looks like schizophrenia and all. So I'm just thinking that way. I don't know if I'm right.
Right. So now we are looking at intersections, right? Is it a parapsychological experience or is it a clinical symptom? Because you're right, a lot of time, certain clinical symptoms like hallucinations, delusions are viewed as a like parapsychological experiences, right? Like Deviya Jana, Atma Jana, whatever. Possessed by a spirit, possessed by a demon. But actually, these are just clinical experiences. So maybe we are looking at the intersection between, parapsychology and clinical psychology. So great, thanks. So all of you are more or less near what the phenomena is. So this is a so parapsychology is the field that investigates paranormal or psychic phenomena. See, para means beyond. Paranormal, beyond normal, beyond what is considered normal. That is why beyond our 5 senses, right? So anything that cannot be explained by our 5 senses can come under the field of parapsychology. parapsychologists aim to test the existence and explore the nature of experiences and abilities in the paranormal realm. So, what makes study of parapsychology or parapsychologists different from psychics? I'm sure you must have come across I don't know, oracle readers, tarot card readers, somebody who claims they can talk to spirits, uh, they are possessed by a demon, priests in religion. What would make parapsychology, the study of parapsychology, different from that? Is that it is looking for some sort of for proof. It is trying to bring it somewhat within scientific realm, somewhat between a knowledge that is observable, that is testable, right? So parapsychology is looking to explore these phenomena and maybe have some objective proof of it. Does it make sense?
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
do you really think that the spirits exist, or this is a kind
Hmm.
of people are making of human food, that it exists and they are talking to those spirits, or those things, like, they really exist?
Mm, I think it's not important what I think. And like if you're really looking for my stance, I'm not sure. So like I wouldn't accept it
I
and I
have
wouldn't reject
I
it.
have I have I have heard so many perspective on that. So people say that people who are in tarot card reading and all those things, they say that they talk to
Mm,
they talk to spirits and all those things. And people who are from the psychology or the scientific background, they say they doesn't exist. They are just the human trap. Might be मतलब ह्यूमन टू ह्यूमन ट्रांसफर ना कोई कह देता है, इट्स लाइक कि दे एग्जिस्ट, इस रास्ते से मत जाना, कि देयर इज
mm,
समथिंग, बट
mm,
आई हैवंट एक्सपीरियंस एनीथिंग लाइक दैट.
mm,
माइट बी हम होता है ना, हमारे माइंड में बहुत सारे लोग डाल देते हैं, तो एक वो इल्यूशन काइंड ऑफ बन जाता है. यू
mm,
क्रिएट
mm,
इमेजिनरी, यू की आई डोंट नो, भूत भूत तो देखे नहीं है ना, तो बस जो आप टीवीज में देखते हो या सीरियल्स में देखते हो आप या मूवीज में
mm,
देखते हो, आप वही सोच लेते हो कि वैसे ही होते होंगे, राइट?
mm, 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 mm. Huh, you're right, right? So it's about ki how you're viewing a phenomena. So there are people who will take a very strong stance against it, like people who are very scientific minded, ki because there is no proof, nothing like this exists. Then there may be people who are religious, who are spiritual, who are जिनका अंडरस्टैंडिंग जो साइंटिफिक लेंस नहीं यूज कर रहे हैं अपनी कंसेप्चुलाइजेशन में एंड दे माइट बी मोर ओपन टू दीज explanations. There might be people like you who have not experienced anything, so they are skeptical. And then people like me who are not accepting it or neither refusing it, kind of taking an agnostic stand. Analogy that's coming in my mind is what people's religious beliefs are. You know, does God exist or does God does not exist? So now people can have experiences on a spectrum, right? So parapsychology is like kind of a similar phenomena. But irrespective of if it exists or if it doesn't exist, it is something that people are experiencing on a spectrum. And what one person thinks of it or does not think of it doesn't really matter in a larger scheme of things. The thing is that some experience is being experienced by the collective. And when we are talking about it in context of mental health, how will you navigate these experiences as a professional? Does this make sense? Okay. तो हम जब पैरासाइकोलॉजी की बात कर रहे हैं, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट पैरासाइकोलॉजी विद इन कंटेक्स्ट ऑफ साइकोलॉजी. And if you are from mental health field, we are talking about it from the lens of profession, right? Mental health profession. Ki how as a therapist, counselor, any form of mental health worker, I might navigate these issues which will invariably come up in therapy. In similar ways, like God will come up in therapy, religion and culture will come up in therapy, because this phenomena exists, at least in perception of people's mind. तो इंडिविजुअल आपका जो भी इंडिविजुअल स्टांस है, इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट टू नो, इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट टू बी अवेयर अबाउट, and then maybe use it well. But it's not as simple as, like, being a yes or being a no, because it will come up in your practice invariably. Even अगर आप में से कोई भी नॉन प्रोफेशनल्स हैं या रिलेटेड फील्ड्स में हैं, अगर आपको इसको एप्लीकेशन के पर्सपेक्टिव से नहीं देखना, इट्स जस्ट अबाउट हाउ डिफरेंट people can have different point of views, and what are people's experiences in this context. अभी हम पैरासाइकोलॉजी की बात विद इन साइकोलॉजी कर रहे हैं, राइट? कि विद इन साइकोलॉजी पीपल आर ट्राइंग टू मेक some sense of this phenomena. So they might take a scientific research perspective, where people might be looking for some proof, people are running experiments, etc. Or people might be making clinical observations also. So let's say some experiences you have had or your clients have had, and on the basis of that, like, reflections and discussions are going on within the field, and that's how the field of parapsychology is being evolving. Does it make sense? Any thoughts? Okay. So thanks, Hotoli. So the phenomena itself challenges the strict subjective-objective dichotomy of human experiences, unexplained within current scientific models. तो अगर हम बिल्कुल ही scientific view, or if we take a very literal scientific view on these things, right? Is it true or is it not true? It is actually more complicated than that, because people are having complex experiences. So just by the virtue that people are experiencing these things, this dichotomy of, correct and incorrect, valid and invalid is being challenged. And agar hum if we look at scientific model, what scientific model is, it is looking to establish a clear relationship, right? Does X lead to Y? So in this case, is it real? Are these phenomena real or not real? But just because people are having complex experiences, this dichotomy itself is being challenged, right? Because people are having some experiences. You cannot say that people are having no experiences at all. And to understand those experiences, somewhere we have to expand our understanding, right? So it may be people can take different stances. For example, past life regression is not a parapsychological experience, but past life regression people explain from various lenses, right? So let's say neuropsychologists, neuroscientists will say, it's some glitch in our nervous system that's happening. A psychic or a spiritual person may say that, it's a veil between present life and past life, veil between this world and other world. So people can explain this phenomena with different lenses that can be scientific or not scientific. So या तो हम उसे, some people will seek answers within the framework, like neuropsychologists are doing, right? Parapsychology, maybe people are trying to run experiments. So they're trying to look for answers within the scientific model. There are people who may want to expand the scientific model also. What is it that we are really considering science? Science होता क्या है? अभी हमारा science का understanding है कि there is a clear cause and effect. X leads to Y. But there are a lot of things that challenge this assumption. So there is also a possibility that we may expand our understanding of science in general, like what is scientific. Other than that, people can have a completely different lens on parapsychological phenomena. So it can be cultural, it can be religious, it can be spiritual. But considering all of these things, still, because people are having some experiences, it's not like nobody is having no experience at all. This duality of true and untrue is being challenged, and we somewhat agree on ki, yes, it is a complicated experience, like it's hard to take a clear stance. Making sense? Any thoughts, any questions? Okay, so have you had a paranormal experience? आप में से किसी के साथ ऐसा कोई एक्सपीरियंस हुआ हो जो आपको लगता हो पैरानॉर्मल हो, या फिर यू नो ऑफ अ एक्सपीरियंस आल्सो एंड यू वुड लाइक टू शेयर?
Yes, I have heard some of the experiences. My aunt was just crossing that. She just told that she at the late night she just crossed that Shamshan Ghat, and after that when she reached home she was start crying and screaming, and she was feeling that something is on her head, or might be she was feeling the dual personality that time. And people take them to some baba, and they do something and they did something, and after later on 5 7 days, after 10 or 5 7 days she become normal. So I do not resonate with all those things. Maybe I feel that, it's my, whenever you listen lots of things, right? Like this happened. Might be you make a kind of your mind make a kind of illusion that if I cross that area, might be this could happen to me, or might be at that time of particular time at 12 o'clock around you have. This is a like no, this is kind of in the Indian culture that you should not cross those areas at night. So I don't know how this happened. People say that nahi, she was normal. After later on, after coming from that place, she became abnormal. She started screaming and all. I thought that yeah, might be there can might be होता है ना, किसी को ना ऐसा बना रहता है illusion, तो वो अपने आप automatically आपका mind वैसा react करने लगता है कि नहीं that happened. कुछ या तो कुछ साइकोलॉजिकली प्रॉब्लम होगा किसी को, तो मैं रेजोनेट नहीं करती। एक हमारे घर के पास भी एक एक देयर वाज अ गुड प्लेस, मणि मणि कॉल्ड, वहां पे गुरुजी समाधि लेते थे, एंड लेटर ऑन जो उनकी पदवी में आता था, दे यूज्ड टू ट्रीट दोज पर्सन हु आर सफरिंग फ्रॉम ऑल दोज ऊपरी चक्कर। So I was just sitting behind, मैं पास में बैठी थी, वहाँ पूरा एक सेटअप होता था, ट्यूसडे को, तो वहां पे द गर्ल वाज बिल्कुल लिटरली नॉर्मल. शी वाज सिटिंग बिसाइड्स मी, एंड लेटर ऑन व्हेन शी went to the guruji, and she starting like you know like she was behaving that she had somebody on she she's having somebody on her mind, or maybe in her body. So I do not
That's
resonate. I
a
said अभी तो
premonition.
ठीक थी, अभी क्या हो गया एकदम. So I believe
Does
that
a
yes,
premonition
for
come
that
under the
particular.
scope of the parapsychology?
I believe
Premonition, does it come under parapsychology?
Yes, sir. Yes, Aarti,
normal,
you may
right?
continue.
These are the paranormal experiences, right?
Yeah. So I hear what you're saying, right? So the possibilities you're exploring right now, as I'm hearing it, is कि sometimes people associate certain places, certain times, certain cues with a paranormal experience. कि at this time, at this place, at a certain location, these things are likely to happen.
And you
Hmm.
think that these happen
Yes.
Hello, I was asking that premonition, does it come under the scope of
Feel all those
parapsychology?
things and you don't heard of all those things. तो मुझे लगता है ये superstitious हो सकता है. I haven't experienced it, but might be जिन लोगों के साथ होता है तो I can't say. तो
Yeah. I'm hearing what you're saying. Just to answer Manoharan sir's question,
Yeah,
yes, premonition is a paranormal experience, comes under a paranormal experience. So I'm hearing what Aarti is saying, right? Aarti's skepticism is rooted in कि certain cues might be associated. So कुछ जगह से, कुछ time पे, there and there are tales around कि you will have this experience. So person almost has this expectancy of an experience, and then they start exhibiting certain things. What is also standing out in what Aarti is saying is her aunt seemed to have certain emotional disturbance, right? She was going through some emotional distress at that time.
and then
And
might be there can be some ऐसा होता है ना if you are मतलब है ना मुझे भी अगर कोई चीज को लेकर हम किसी बच्चे को लेकर से मन में डाल दिया कि नहीं there is something तो वो ना एक इमेज बना के लेता है इंसान ना कि there is something.
yeah,
तो वो एक वो हेलुसिनेशन बोल दो और समथिंग जब तक आप उसको बिल्कुल क्लियर नहीं करो तो जब तक या फिर आप कोई और उसे क्लियर नहीं करे कि नहीं दिस डजंट हैपन दिस हैपन तो फिर वो तब तक रहता ही है उनके माइंड में. मेरे लिए तो मतलब मेरे लिए ऐसा है कि ये सिर्फ एक मतलब अवेयरनेस का पार्ट है. जब लोग ज्यादा अवेयर हो जाएंगे तो माइट भी ये चीज नहीं होगी बट स्टिल हमारे इंडिया में बहुत रूरल लेके आओ तो बहुत स्टिल बहुत मतलब साइंटिफिक लोग साइंटिफिक चीजों को ना मतलब पता नहीं मैं ये तो नहीं बोलूंगी स्टिल ना मैं might be we can say
but I understand your skepticism. आपका जो skepticism है, I'm understanding, and I am seeing all the possibilities you are saying, right? So whatever you are saying is possible explanation of what happened, right? कि your aunt was in distress, and this was her way of I don't know,
my
coping.
aunt. It is
Yeah.
not about my aunt. I've seen.
Hello.
Yes, I'm so sorry. My kid is there, and he just wants me to play chess with him. Sorry.
Yeah, I understand. I'm using your aunt because you gave your aunt's example, but you're talking about it in general. So ये हो सकता है कि people have certain expectancy at certain places, and they are just like reacting to it. It is possible that they are experiencing some emotional disturbance, some clinical symptoms, and that is being considered a parapsychological experience. All of it is a possibility, and all of it we will be talking about in subsequent slides, hopefully. Right? So again, this skepticism, but also not having this, definite conviction that it doesn't exist. Somewhere between not saying a hard no, but not a hard yes either, is where this field lies. Even though you might have a lot of skepticism, or you may have a lot of belief, there is reason to consider other possibilities as well, and to explore these possibilities only this field of study exists. Making sense? Okay, so what comes under the scope of parapsychological studies? First is extrasensory perception. Extrasensory perception is experience beyond our 5 senses. That includes telepathy. What is telepathy? Anybody?
Telepathy. Telepathy.
Anybody else is also welcome to answer. Again, I'm not looking for correct answers.
That you want to telepathy is something that you want to send a person, send a message to a person without any means like telephone or email. It is like connection from the mind to mind, or you can call. I believe that there is a certain energy within us. Yeah, obviously.
I'm not
That
looking.
energy.
I'm not looking for personal associations right now. I'm just looking to understand what do you understand by telepathy.
Telepathy is like sending a message without any means.
Yeah, like ability to communicate with another person or another realm without any traditional communication, right? So telepathy is a form of extrasensory perception where we are speaking to somebody else or receiving somebody else's message, but without using our five senses. And so telepathy is an example of extrasensory perception. Extrasensory perceptions means and sensory experience we are having. What are senses? Eyes. So what are sensory experiences? Vision, audition, taste, touch, and
Smell.
smell. Yes,
Smell.
smell, right? So you are having sensory experiences, but without the use of sense organs, is what an extrasensory perception is, right? So in telepathy, I'm able to talk to somebody without really using my ears, my mouth, my eyes, whatever. That's why it's a extrasensory perception. Another extrasensory perception is clairvoyance. Anybody knows what clairvoyance is?
I'm so sorry, I didn't get it. Can you let me know again?
Clairvoyance. I'll type it.
No idea.
No idea. Clairvoyance is
For
ability
example,
to
any example or hint?
you can clairvoyance is used for prediction.
Like birth. During birth?
No, in general, prediction.
Prediction, okay.
That generally astrologers do.
That future intuition.
Yeah.
Gut feeling. Gut feeling.
Future intention is more close to it.
Yeah, future
right?
intuition.
So,
Or forecasting.
Sorry, what? Forecasting, yes, definitely. So having certain visions or certain, images, certain, again, you're hearing something, you're seeing something that is happening in the future. So you're
Yeah,
somewhat, saying that you're having visions. That's clairvoyance.
sometimes even our Indian dramas or serials, we can predict what's the next episode or next scene is, like that.
That's just prediction, no?
Yeah.
Well, but somehow if you're like, let's say, having a vision of that, I don't know, that might be on a spectrum of ESP. Okay. Clairvoyance, telepathy. What else?
Or sensing some bad happenings, like natural disasters.
Yeah. So these are some extrasensory perceptions, right?
Yeah.
Where you are having a experience beyond your five senses. Psychokinesis is this mind-body connection. Some movement in physical matter without the use of, let's say, your motor functions. So let's say somebody just looking at the glass, maybe, able to shift a glass. That's psychokinesis. So you're not using any hands or you're not using any muscle movements, etc. But some activity is happening in the physical environment. Levitation.
physics concepts.
Mhm.
And what if the extrasensory perception, what we discussed, sometimes is it possible to, it's possible that we get in our dreams, like we feel it has really happened and followed by it happens.
Hmm.
So is that also comes under extrasensory perception?
It can be
Okay.
on a spectrum, right? So you may
Yeah.
say that, like, again, depending upon what that dream meant to you,
Yeah.
you may say, oh, it's just a dream, it's just a coincidence. But if it's
Yeah.
something that's particularly meaningful, you may say that I've had a vision.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's really just your own perception, right? And your own belief. That's what I'm trying to say, that, these experiences, are on a spectrum.
Okay.
Making sense?
Yes.
Hmm. Survival. Survival is, these out of body experiences, these narrations about life after death, or, near death experiences where somebody dies but they come back. At least that is what is being told. The- uh, there are narrations of apparitions that I was able to transport myself to somewhere else. My body is here, but my mind was somewhere else. So these out of body experiences, afterlife.
In one recent movie, I saw both the souls exchange. Did that all those fall under survival?
Yeah,
Okay, but that really happens?
we can't comment on that. That's the entire class is about,
Okay.
right? See, it's really not about if it's true or if it's not. It's about somebody is experiencing it, and we're
Okay.
looking to understand that phenomena. That's why I started with my individual stance doesn't matter,
Okay.
though it is important for me to know as a clinician.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is what generally comes under the scope of parapsychology. Yeah. Somebody was saying something.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about dreams. Do they fall under the same survival? Because most of the time we dream, sometimes you really, really feel like it's real. You're coming out of your body. Does it fall under survival?
Again, it really depends upon, how you are making sense of it. So if you look at from psychoanalytical point of view, dreams are a representation of what's going on in your unconsciousness. So you can like kind of interpret them and make sense of them, and you can relate them to what's happening in your life in general. But sometimes you may have these extraordinary experiences which you may be compelled to say that I've had a vision or I'm getting a message, whatever, So it's really about, the impact of something I'd say on you, what it means for you, how much it has moved you, impacted you, and how you would like to make sense of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But how do we is that they have imagined in their dreams and they speak like as if it has happened. So how do we know that? How do we identify it is real or in their imagination?
How are you asking it? Are you asking it as a clinician or are you asking just out of curiosity? Because my answer will be different.
Clinical psychologist, on a hands-on, on further practice sessions, we do analyze, or we can identify when the case is being studied truly, like as it progresses, that the person is imagining and doing like what we call, whom we call as psychopaths. No, we have a lot of psychopath cases and which is happening and recently shown in many movies. So how do we like find the person is real or a psychopath, like that? I meant
Psychopath or psychopath?
psychopath. Like the person is
Psychopathy is completely different, right?
okay.
Psychopathy is a personality disorder.
Okay.
Again, conceptualization is different. It's a cluster B disorder. But like, for example, if we're looking to make differentiations, we will look into psychotic symptoms. We will look into dissociative symptoms.
Okay. And we
Not
keep
really a
tests also
personality
for that.
diagnosis. And
Okay.
we'll be talking about what you're talking in much more detail. And I'm pretty sure you'll get your answer naturally as the class progresses.
Yes.
Thank you.
Because I'm still not clear.
Yeah.
Like in Africa, where I come from,
Yeah.
a lot of people would go to find out from the people, like sort of like, I would call it possessed.
Hmm.
Then they'll tell you things that are actually true in your life, which you have not even shared with them. So how do you call that? Because I'm still a bit skeptical.
Yeah. And skepticism is a good place to be in, because that's where you're more open to working with any person, right? If again you're talking as a clinician, skepticism is good, because then you're able to hold two realities together instead of imposing yours on the person, which again can be counter therapeutic. But we'll be talking about this,
All
I
right.
think, in the next slide.
Okay.
So clinical considerations. Assuming that most of you have your background in psychology and mental health, we will also be talking about what would it look like to work with a client that is reporting some paranormal experiences, right? So there is PSY, psi, that is like psychological experiences. In the field of parapsychology, there is a term psi, PSI, which includes perception and beyond. Making sense? So experiences, so psi is a term that means experiences within the conscious realm as well as the parapsychological realm. Is it clear? Psi and psi, even though they're pronounced same. PSY versus PSI.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
So first, it's important to consider your own positionality on psi experiences, right? Like that's where I'm saying clinicians' individual stance matter within the scope of their practice. So you can, again, being skeptical, being neutral, being suspicious can help you somewhat stay in the ambiguity of these experiences. So you can assume that these experiences are true, even though how you might explain them might vary. For example, you may say that these are clinical symptoms, right? But you are acknowledging the experience in itself. You may say that there are these experiences, but again, going back to this point, challenges the strict subjective objective dichotomy of human experiences, unexplained within current scientific model. When something is unexplained in the current body of knowledge, either the scope of the knowledge will expand or we will readapt the framework, right? So you can assume these, it's a recommendation again, you can explore it on your own. You can assume these experiences to be true, even though how you are explaining these experiences might vary. You may say, I don't know, I'm not sure, but I'm open to hearing what you're saying, right? You may say that it is a manifestation of an emotional distress. You may say it is a presentation of clinical symptoms. You may say these are some unexplained neurobiological, neuropsychological phenomena, right? You may say that current body of knowledge is not able to test it, and there might be some ways to expand our knowledge base. You may say that, oh, within my culture, within my religion, within my practice, there are alternative lenses from which I can view these symptoms, which will make sense. For example, in your culture, maybe it makes sense, right? Even in Indian cultures, there are a lot of narrations. So if we take it from a lens of culture, it makes sense. Even in DSM-5, again, we can critique it a lot, but it's not relevant. There are cultural representations also, cultural considerations in making a diagnosis as well, right? So you can take that lens also. But you can consider that these experiences exist on a spectrum. And you may or may not have enough knowledge to take a stance on it. Is it making sense?
Ma'am, you are telling the clinical consideration for the para psychology, right?
Yeah. Psi
Uh,
experiences, PSI.
what is basically, I was not able to connect. Sorry, what is this?
So PSY, psi is psychological experiences, right? That are within our scope of perception. PSI includes these experiences as well as paranormal experiences.
PSI experiences means what kind of experience within our what you
Normal
told me?
plus paranormal.
Normal and like normal as we are, right?
Normal, by normal I mean which can be experienced within 5 senses.
Okay, fine.
Making sense?
Like paranormal activity, right? Through our 5 senses, right?
Paranormal activity cannot be experienced by our 5 senses. That is why it is paranormal.
But some people say that they felt that someone touched or someone touched them or something. Those things are felt by their body.
That's what makes them paranormal, no? They're having sensory experience, but no sensory input. If I can see something that's not visible to the naked eye, that can be a paranormal experience. But if I can see you and you're here, it's not a paranormal experience. It's a normal experience. Making sense?
Ma'am,
Mm.
we usually hear about sixth sense. So could it be the paranormal experience, sixth sense?
Could be. I can't verify or deny. It's not within the scope of my lecture or even in the scope of my competency. What I'm saying, so like don't look to me to verify or deny it. I'm asking you to stay in the space of ambiguity because that is where the entire field exists. And that is what I mean, that you can consider these experiences to be true, even though you may not have explanation of it, or you may be using different types of explanations for it. That can be as simple as, oh, these are clinical symptoms, but you have some explanation of it. Is it making sense? It's very important.
Means you feel that obviously this is not practically possible, but you need to empathize the person, right?
If your stance is it definitely doesn't exist, then sure, yes.
No, I haven't experienced. That's why I'm saying that might be. I am not totally
Okay,
disagreeing
let's
that.
look at it from a different point of view. Phenomenology is study of experience, right?
Okay.
Phenomenology doesn't care about right or wrong, standard or not standard. Phenomenology is interested in understanding an experience. So let's say if I want to understand your understanding of parapsychology using phenomenological lens, I'm only interested in your experience. I don't care if it relates to the larger theory or not. I just want to know what it is like for you. So your experience is real, quote unquote. Making sense?
Mhm.
I don't care if it's scientific, not scientific, grounded in theory, not grounded in theory. Your experience is your experience. I am not challenging your experience. I am looking to understand your experience. From that lens, you can consider your position as a therapist can be to assume that yes, these experiences are on a spectrum. Your explanations of these experiences may vary. You may not have explanation at all. If you are if you want to take a very strong stance, you can. These exist or they don't exist. But even if you're saying something doesn't exist, you're taking a stance. You're falling somewhere on the spectrum, right? On the extreme end of it.
I'm saying I haven't experienced, but uh, as I have seen people who are from, means I haven't seen, मतलब जिनके घर में नहीं होता तो वो कभी इस बारे में बात नहीं करते, या फिर वो जो अगर हम कहीं ऐसे जो जिन लोगों ने ऐसा कोई एक्सपीरियंस नहीं देखा होता या उन लोगों ने ऐसे एक्सपीरियंस के बारे में बात नहीं करी होती, तो वो लोग दे आर लाइक नहीं होता ऐसा कुछ. बट इफ अ पर्सन who comes from that kind of background or maybe personally have seen those things, तो उनको लिए बहुत strongly agree करते हैं कि नहीं that can happen. वही ना, तो मैं ये बोल रही हूँ कि I have seen many people who just
So you're skeptical that you're on a spectrum, right? You're skeptical. You're not sure, you're not unsure.
I am not
You're
sure
a
about
spectrum.
it.
Again, wherever you are, you're on a spectrum. That's what I'm trying to say. That is all I'm trying to say. So in that sense, you can assume that these experiences are true as a clinician.
Okay, as a therapist, we need to assume that yeah, these are the true. If a person is telling you that the person has experienced those things, right?
Again, true, not in terms of yes and no. True as in this is their experience.
Accepting the person, whatever, because we cannot resist if we will resist it, so maybe it will turn into an argument. So we will just need to you are saying that we need to accept that the person has experienced those things, right?
Yes, and then explore.
Exploring in what way? Like talking more about these things or what?
If we move next to the slides, you will get the answers. But
Okay,
is
fine.
this true? Is everybody with me? Because it's very important. What's your position? Right? So you can have any position on the spectrum, but you need to be aware of it.
But ma'am, do you really think that these clients come for the therapy? And I don't think so. These kind of clients come for the therapy. They used to, in the possibility in India, mostly people used to go to some kind of Jharpur, Balaji, Mandan to get rid of all those things. And I believe that they don't come for the therapies.
All of them?
Ma'am, I have experienced with a client having a sense of pauses, So, yeah, I dealt with it with prayer because the family wanted it and it worked. It's just a simple experience that I have.
Yeah. Because you assumed that whatever they are saying, you validated their experience. You were able to explore a possibility for treatment, right? Even
Yes,
though it
ma'am.
might not have looked conventional.
Yes, ma'am.
That is what I'm trying to say. Exactly. Right?
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
You can have this assumption of truth about these experiences. And your personal stance may be on a spectrum.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And once we do it, once we accept it, instead of saying, oh, it doesn't exist. Like, again, you can have that position, but it's very extreme.
Yes.
And then we can explore it, right? And then we can explore various possibilities. But if we negate it in the first place, we have already entered into an impasse as a therapist. How will you work with the client?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So your positionality is very important. That is all I'm trying to say. And irrespective of whatever your positionality is, you can give this assumption of truth to the client and then explore it. I'm not saying unconditionally accept it. For example, even if somebody reports, I've had a fight with my partner, for example, do you think whatever they are saying is completely true and 100% accurate narration of what has happened? No, right? But you accept their experience and then you explore it, right? You won't say that, oh, it definitely didn't happen. You didn't have a fight with your partner. Or you wouldn't also say that whatever you're saying is 100% true. But you will at least accept their experience and then explore it, right? I'm asking to consider that acceptance for these experiences also. And then you'll use your clinical skills, then you will discern, then you will consider other possibilities. Is everyone with me? All right. So at what point a client can come to therapy, right? So usually if a person is having these experiences, they can feel afraid, they can feel confused. There might be a lot of emotional upheaval that they're experiencing. At that point, they might come. I don't understand what's happening to me, or I'm having these weird experiences. Or they might be brought by somebody else also. Like, I don't know what's happening to my family member, or we have tried everything, but nothing is working. Right? And you, particularly when these experiences are happening for the first time, you will see that there is some sort of emotional upheaval around it. So client has experienced some emotional stress in their lives around the time that this is happening. So some sort of emotional distress, some sort of disorientation with what's true, what's not true, what's real, what's not real comes up. And scope of therapy can look like, bringing that client, helping them process what's happening, bringing them to a state of emotional balance, and kind of integrate these experiences within their lives. See, so basically, these are very disorienting experiences, right? And you're looking for some integration and some processing that can happen, irrespective of their beliefs or your beliefs. So you can help to contain distress, help them in discernment of what's happening. That would be the scope of therapy. Necessary clinical skills would be, again, you have to check for clinical symptoms, right? Psychotic symptoms, dissociative symptoms. You can check for, defenses or psychological needs. You can check for projection, right? Are some needs being projected? Is there some sort of wish fulfillment? Is some sort of splitting happening? So you can check for psychological defenses if you take a psychoanalytical view. Making sense? For example, very common, particularly when there are narrations of this person is being possessed by spirit, one psychodynamic explanation is that this person is projecting the need for attention, nurturance, care. Right? Again, one of the possibilities. So once you have ruled out clinical symptoms, or even if there are clinical symptoms, you have to check for that. You have to check for any psychological defenses, any needs that are being projected, any psychological material that is coming up around this area. For example, if after a loved one's death, somebody is experiencing these things, there might be need to process grief in general. Making sense? And what is most important is you're looking to develop skills for reality testing. Let's say, even if assuming that an experience is true, let's say somebody has these clairvoyant abilities, right? And they're able to have vision. They can verify the content of their vision, right?
Yes.
Not necessarily by hard scientific research, but just by observation. Or let's say somebody saying that I've had an out of body experiences and I was transported somewhere else. They can bring back observations to that of that place within the current reality, and we can fact check it. This is informal checking, right? It's not like scientific framework checking, but kind of you are bringing in the skills of reality testing, right? So assuming that somebody has these abilities, how will they discern between psychic experience and, let's say, quote unquote real world experience? And you're looking to develop those skills. Is it clear? A very important nuance here is, so if you're taking anything out of this class today, it's just this reality testing thing, that how can I develop reality testing skills within my client, or how can we test reality within our sessions, so that they're able to, again, discern various aspects of their experience. And a very important nuance in it is, a person may have a mental health condition, or a person may have some emotional need they're projecting, whatever, and they still may have these abilities, assuming that it is true. It happens. So again, then I have to, let's say, I experience hallucinations and I experience these ESPs phenomena. So I have to be able to discern what is my hallucination and what is this ESP phenomena I'm experiencing. Is it making sense? So
In this in
here
this
we do reality testing. We are looking to develop this reality testing.
Could you explain this in more simpler terms?
Okay. If I'm saying that I have a vision of what will happen 1 week from now. So 1 week later, it can be confirmed, right? If it happened or it did not happen. So let's say I write my vision down. This is going to happen. And then I can see 1 week later if it happened or not happened. And it is giving me some sort of proof. Making sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's say I'm saying in my dreams, while my body was here, while my physical body was here, I was traveling to Paris. I'm just an example. I can maybe have those details of like where I traveled, and I can bring them back. I can write them down and I can check, are those details corresponding? So there is some proof, right?
Yes, ma'am.
तो जो भी मैं experience कर रही हूँ, I can have some proof of that. I can verify it in some ways. And that is called reality testing. So as a clinician, I'm looking to develop reality testing skills within my client so that they can discern between their ESP experience and their quote unquote normal world experience. Is it making sense?
Yes, ma'am.
अब इसके अंदर nuance I'm talking about is, let's say a person has mental health condition and an ESP. Let's say somebody has experiences hallucinations, but also are clairvoyant, self-proclaimed. तो मुझे वो भी reality testing develop करना पड़ेगा कि what is an hallucination and what is a clairvoyant experience. Making sense?
Yes, ma'am.
And I can do all of this work only when my first point is clear, my positionality is clear. Everyone with me?
Yeah. Yes.
So you are not looking to challenge somebody significantly unless there is some clinical basis for that. You're looking to work within their internal models. That is why it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. It doesn't matter how you feel about it.
So in other ways, Mom, what you're trying to say is we have to believe them.
Yeah.
All right.
You have to believe them in the same way you believe all your clients. And then you explore, right? Believing them does not mean you say that, oh, whatever you are saying is true. Again, going back to the example I'm giving, if I've had a fight with my partner and I'm telling it to my therapist, as a therapist, I can accept that this is your narration, right? But that doesn't mean I'll say, oh, it's completely their fault, not yours. Then I'll use my clinical skills in exploring what really happened. But I don't invalidate by saying that, oh, it didn't happen at all. You're lying. This can't happen. I'll accept the experience first, then I'll explore.
So, ma'am, is it something like, I'm being in the place, in the shoes, and trying to be in the world and see things from the person's perspective and explore the possibility what is happening in his or her world? Is that right? Without judgmental, judging the person.
You can say that, yes. In essence, I agree with what you're saying. But particularly within parapsychology, you can't empathize in similar ways you do to other experiences.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I'm a little doubtful about. Like, if I start empathizing, again, that might not work.
Acceptance is a better word, right?
Right.
That you can, assumption of truth is a better word. That this person is experiencing something. Right? And instead of just negating an experience altogether. Yeah? All right. That is why goal of therapy would look like integration, processing and integration. We can do processing, we can do integration only when we are developing this skill of reality testing. And we're not really challenging if it happened or if it didn't happen. We are just looking to integrate various aspects of an experience. A person can have clinical symptoms, some emotional need, and an paranormal experience at the same time. And we will need to differentiate and integrate. A person can have some of it and none of it. Everything is possible. But it will, as a therapist, you'll be only able to work with it if you accept it first. Instead of outright rejecting that it didn't happen. In the similar ways, you'll never do it for any other experience in general. Hopefully. So when relationship with reality is more conscious, more improved, a person has more clarity. There's sense of judgment, reasoning, autonomy, choice, all of these increases, right? So kind of self-efficacy increases. And that's a very important goal to explore in therapy in general. Making sense?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So that's our time. Thank you very much for sharing your insights, your questions. I hope this class gave you something to think about.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I had a doubt.
Hmm.
Ma'am, are there some case studies we can refer to? Ma'am, are there some case studies we can refer to?
I'm pretty sure you'll find it on the internet. And nothing specific is coming to my mind, but there is Association for Parapsychological Studies, something like that. Some organization is there. So maybe you'll find some material there.
Thank you, ma'am.
Twamanish.
Okay. So Kanika, can I exit?